In this morning's talk, I want to go to the very beginning of A Course in Miracles and correct what has been a misunderstanding of many students. And actually, there are very, very few things that I regret that Helen and I did when we edited the course for its final edit preceding its publication. But it's that original beginning, not the original beginning, because actually it was not the original beginning, but it is now the published beginning of the course. I think leaving it as it is a mistake, and I want to discuss that with you this morning. The course says, this is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course, and only the time in which you take it is voluntary. This was originally part of a larger passage or a larger message to Helen that was actually a joke, in which Helen said to Jesus, as she was taking the course down in the early weeks, I'm assuming this course is an elective, referring to what occurs in college curricula when we have certain courses that are required, that are necessary for us to graduate. And then there are those courses that are elective that we choose to take simply because we have an interest in it. And so Helen was being cute with Jesus, saying, I assume this is not required, but an elective, namely I could choose not to take it at any time. And so Jesus' response was to say, no, I'm very sorry, Helen dear, but this is a required course. And what he meant by that was that this is what you and Bill asked for when you pledged yourselves to find the other way of relating. And this is your answer, and so it is a required course, meaning it is a required course for you and Bill. When the context is removed, it makes it sound as if everyone must take A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. And that would be the farthest thing from the truth, and certainly would be directly antithetical to the whole spirit of the course. And when one looks at the opening pages of the Teacher's Manual, one finds that Jesus is saying that A Course in Miracles is only one form among many thousands, that's the phrase, many thousands of the universal course. Right, and all the different forms of the universal course, in one way or another, each one has the same theme: God's Son is guiltless, right, and in his guiltlessness is his salvation. Right, that is expressed in every authentic course in salvation, regardless of its teaching or its form. And so that idea is extremely important. So for students of the course, so they avoid falling into the trap of what we used to refer to in the good old days as spiritual specialness, where I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, and that makes me special, and that makes me better than anyone else. I remember in the very early years, Helen, Bill, and Judy Scutch and I had gone to another city to present the course and talk about it, and one very serious and earnest man showed us a table or a chart that he had made that he was going to present to all the Christian churches he could find that would let him in the door. And this is a place where he was going to tell them, here's where Jesus corrected all of your mistakes. In other words, putting side by side the orthodox teachings of the various Christian churches and setting them alongside the corrections that the Course gives us. Unfortunately, Helen stopped him. At least she stopped him then. I don't know what happened afterwards. But that's the kind of thing you want to avoid as a student of this course, to feel that just because you are a student of this course, that makes you better than anyone else. The Course never says it is better than any other spiritual path. I think one can safely say of A Course in Miracles that it is unique and it is different from any other spirituality, contemporary or ancient. And I think this is a justifiable statement. But to say it's different or unique because it says some things that no other spirituality says, East or West, and sort of the whole package in which it puts its teaching is decidedly different. But that doesn't make it better, or it doesn't make it worse. It doesn't make other thought systems wrong because they don't say, for example, that God did not create the world, or that Jesus is not the only Son of God. We all are equal members of the sonship. That doesn't mean that thought systems or spiritualities that disagree with the Course in form are necessarily worse or wrong. It just means from the perspective of the Course, they would be mistaken, just as from the perspective of people who believe in the Bible, as an example, would find the Course mistaken. On its good days. On its bad days, of course, it will be seen as the work of the devil. It is extremely important to avoid that kind of specialness. There's a passage in I Need Do Nothing in chapter 18, which was originally a personal message to Helen, in which Jesus said to her, don't take a path that works for others when this one has been given to you. And once when I was with Helen, when she was having a real emotional tirade against someone that she felt was distorting the teachings of the Course and using them for his own purposes, she heard Jesus say to her, which she then related to me, don't take another's path as your own, but neither should you judge it. In other words, you should respect and honor other spiritualities and other religions because if they are followed with dedication and consistent purpose, will lead people home. But you should not abandon this path, which is yours. In other words, be faithful to the Course, follow it as best you can, but don't attack or judge others who don't agree with you. And I think that's a very, very wise guideline for all of us to carry with us, and to realize that the Course is not required. It may be required for us if we feel it is our path, but that does not mean it's required for the world. The Course is really meant for one person only, and it's the one who is reading it and studying it. And when that person completes the curriculum and accepts the atonement for him or herself, then that person recognizes that there is only one Son of God, only one teacher of God, and there's only one universal Course, though its forms may be many. As the Hindus have taught us for centuries, truth is one, and the sages know it by many names.